with the live stream. Not sure what's going on with YouTube. I've checked things out on my end. Everything's good here on my end. I think it's YouTube. Maybe the server is being bombarded with new people. All these new XJWs coming out. And YouTube is being overloaded. But we also have another piece of news here with the Jehovah's Witnesses covert shredding and trying to destroy evidence, saying that Satan, the devil, is coming after them and all of that. So that's some new piece of info. Kind of new, right? Because we've known about them wanting to shred evidence for the longest. We've known about them wanting to. Info kind of new, right? Ha! Okay, so I think YouTube has fixed itself. In any case, we've known about Jehovah's Witnesses wanting to destroy themselves. Not destroy themselves. A Freudian slip here. Wanting to destroy evidence of child abuse records for a long time. And I want to talk to you about this a little bit because I'm seeing some things in the community that, at least me personally, my perspective on it, I think people are maybe misunderstanding this phenomenon, this situation, and they're not really seeing it for what it is. And I think this is also on both sides. I think people on both ends, on the inside of the Jehovah's Witness community, as well as people on the outside, whether they're activists, XJWs, or just people like news anchors or researchers or attorney generals or whatever the case is, law enforcement, people might be assuming that all the records are being destroyed because you have these leaked videos, you have statements or body of elder letters instructing elders and authority leaders in the congregations to eliminate and destroy notes and files and things like that, to delete them off of the emails and things like that. So naturally, even I was like that too. At first, I thought, oh my goodness, they're going to destroy all the records. We'll never, ever get the list because now it's going to be destroyed. But then I had some time to think about this. I had some real serious time to think about this. And, it's so easy to jump to conclusions, especially emotional-based conclusions, especially when it's something personal to you. And it's easy to filter out information that disconfirms your conclusion. No one likes to be told they're wrong, even though we are all wrong in many ways, in many areas of life. But you don't like to admit that. So when a belief or a conclusion feels good to you, it feels comfortable like a shoe, the tendency is to hold on to it and to filter out the other information around it. You're basically making reality fit your view as opposed to fit your view to reality. So what am I getting here at? Okay, here we go. We've got the elders being told to destroy evidence. All right, fair enough. But when you look at what the Jehovah's Witness thing is, the whole Jehovah's Witness mentality, think about it for a minute. It's all about catching you doing something wrong. It's all about keeping tabs on you. It's all about watching you and keeping info and files on you. Look, they're keeping a file on you the minute you open the door and answer the door for a Jehovah's Witness. They done already got your house number down before they ever knocked at your door. They've written down what's in your yard, whether there's toys there, whether they think you have kids, whether they think you are a working man or a college student, to see if they can get an angle on you. They got all this info already written down about you before you get to the door. Before you get to the door. So, what makes you think? What's up, Evie Brooklyn in the house? Evie's in the house. Uh-oh. I got a feeling my live streams are not going to be as short as I wanted them to be today. Now, if somebody else comes in here, I'm going to know something. What's up, Evie Brooklyn? Hope you're having a good Saturday. We've got 5 people watching right now. Thank you for tuning in. We tried to do this earlier, and YouTube, it was Satan the devil, really. I think Satan the devil did not want me to come on here and live stream today. You know what I mean? That darn devil, always up to no good. But back to this information thing. Jehovah's Witnesses, you know this. They're keeping tabs. They're profiling you. They got info on you before you ever answer the door, let alone become a Jehovah's Witness. You up in the mix, you're guaranteed they got info and files on you at headquarters. Because the elders, the local elders, think about it. They still have to submit the info. They have to keep notes on everyone and on everything, right? And then they have to turn it in. Now, after they've turned it in, they're told to destroy it. But they're not told, oh, well, just destroy it and don't turn it into us. You're going to have to go through that big HQ step. You're going to have to submit everything in your hands to the Go-Bo girls. Now, just a minute ago, we saw Barbara Anderson over there in Pennsylvania, New York, talking about, hey, you know, Attorney General, you guys need to do some criminal investigation into the governing body because of these 755 perpetrators that they sent in and didn't call the police on. So now, as you see, the information still has to go to HQ. Nothing's changed where it counts, people. You get what I'm saying? You know what that destroying the records thing does? You know why they have that? It's to lull the local elders, ministerial servants, and congregation members into a false sense of safety. It's to lull you into thinking that the records are destroyed, the evidence is gone. Did you forget that you sent it into HQ? Now, why would they have you send it into them only to turn around and destroy it, just like you? Does that make any sense? Oh, they had you turn it in because they're still holding on to that info. So people, you know, I think a lot of people are getting upset about this destroying records thing. And yes, it has its place, but I tend to think that the real records, the records in HQ aren't being destroyed at all. Evie Brooklyn says, hi, baby, trying to stay inside. Hot as hell. That bitch devil is out there sipping iced tea. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Even the devil is hot. It's like, god dang. We have excessive heat warning over here, over 100 and something. But, you know, to me personally, it's not a big deal because, you know, in Korea and Thailand, when I chilled out over there, didn't ever chill out. It was hot. But you know what I'm saying. It was easy, 110, 120 temperature. And that was in the wintertime. So, yeah, the records thing, I don't think it's a big deal at all. At all. In one sense, it is a big deal, right? because we don't want any of them destroying any records. But speaking of records, everybody, have you guys heard about the new GDPR laws? The European ruling, not the new law, but the ruling in Europe. The ruling is that Jehovah's Witnesses are committing a crime by keeping door-to-door records without consent of the householders, of the people. So now, whereas before you could get your door-to-door record and you could write down the number and you can write down the name and try to get as much info on the person that you can, where they work, what they do, if they have kids, if they're married, any personal extenuating circumstances like disease or death, all of that stuff. Now you must let that person know that you're writing all that down about them and you must tell them how you plan on using it and who you're going to share it with, and you must get their consent. And you got to do that for every single door, whether they answer the door or not. How is that going to affect field service, people? Oh boy, oh boy. Evie Brooklyn, the movie rating thing showing adult themes at convention. What? What is that about, Evie Brooklyn? Tell me more about that. While I'm waiting on Evie Brooklyn to elaborate on that piece of info, I want to go ahead and see if I can pull up this piece of info. Was it Finland? Oh yeah, was it Mike and Kim? Mike and Kim, they had it on their YouTube. It was in Finland. The European Court. Let's see. I had been told about this some months back. The people in Europe are really working hard. Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Finland, Belgium, and Holland. And it basically says here, let's go ahead and do a screen share. All right. Check this out. European Court of Justice rules Jehovah's Witnesses illegally gather personal data. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. You can check this out on your own. Let's see. It is a Finnish newspaper here. But this is a big deal. The European Court of Justice. This is a huge, huge deal. This isn't just in one country or in one city. This is the European Court. So this is more than one country. And it says here, the European Court of Justice has found that Jehovah's Witnesses' practice of collecting personal information as members go door to door to preach is illegal. It's illegal because members are effectively compiling a personal data register which should comply with data protection regulations. So whenever you are creating data, you now have laws to contend with. Now, I guess we will read this thing. I don't think it's that long, is it? No, it's not that long. Court handed down a preliminary ruling on Tuesday at the request of Finland's Supreme Administrative Court, which petitioned the EU court for an opinion on the matter last year, 2017. So the court found that religious orgs, such as the Jehovah's, maintain a personal register when they process info gathered during their door-to-door ministry. Right. In practice, the court says this means that as an organization that maintains a personal data register, Jehovah's Witnesses should abide by the rules that govern the protection of personal data. Yeah, only makes sense. In May, the EU introduced the new data protection rules, the General Data Protection Regulation. Now, I encourage you, whether you're a Jehovah's Witness, excuse me, or an ex Jehovah's Witness, or neither of those, excuse me, just a regular person, I still encourage you to do your research and read up on the EU data protection rules and the General Data Protection Regulation, even if you don't live in Europe, because these compliance laws are advancing, and Europe and America are watching each other very closely when it comes to these regulations and laws, and it's kind of bouncing and feeding off each other. Similar to how in the cannabis industry, the states that have recreational and legal cannabis, there are now a zillion compliance rules to contend with, and each state has to figure out health and safety, everything from packaging the product to extracting oils. There are so many legal complexities, and data is right dead center of it, because data, of course, again, falls into compliance and legal complexities, because you have patient data. If it's recreational cannabis, now you're dealing with a patient as opposed to a customer, you see. So all of their info, their telephone number, their if you have their some of them have credit card payment. Most of it's cash based, but some places do accept cards or Bitcoin or something like that. All of that, their name and their ID, you have to show ID. All of that has to be kept in a way that is compliant with law. And the fines and the penalties for these things are super, super scary stiff. You know, you're talking about federal penalties, and not complying with that, outright refusing to comply because Jehovah told you so, is a federal crime. You will be handled as a criminal, a federal criminal. And from what I've gathered, correct me if I'm wrong, and I welcome anyone to correct me on this stuff, because I'm still learning, like you, about the EU data protection rules and how it affects the Jehovah's Witnesses. So if you catch me saying something that's not quite accurate or that's completely wrong, please feel free to leave it in the comments or contact me, Operation Ultra 2015 at gmail.com, and correct me on that with verification and resources, because like I said, I'm still learning about this. So, but from what I've gathered here is that a lot of these penalties can be much stiffer than, say, charges for rape or even charges for manslaughter in some of these states of America. You know, in some states, manslaughter, people only get 8 years in prison. Like on Netflix, that documentary called The Staircase. That guy only got 8 freaking years for manslaughter, for killing someone. So this is not how it's going to be with infringement on the GDPR or the data protection rules. Here you're talking about federal level, uh, millions of dollars in fines to the tune of at least 2 to 4 million for starters for each infraction, and then perhaps even a percentage of your revenue. You know, 2 to 3% of your revenue. Now that might not sound like a lot to people who aren't accountants and tax people and money people, but when you're talking about a big organization, as far as in terms of money, like Jehovah's Witnesses, where they have buildings that they sell for $900 billion, 2 to 3% of 900 billion, for example. I'm not saying that's their revenue, but I'm just throwing some numbers out. 3% of 900 billion ain't too shabby for a fine collection, I would say. Not too shabby at all, right? All right. So it says here in May, the EU introduced new data protection rules. The General Data Protection Regulation, which, among other things, gives consumers greater control over how their data is collected, used, and shared with possible third parties. Although the ECJ has issued a preliminary ruling on the matter. An official ruling is expected from Finland's Supreme Administrative Court, according to the ECJ. The role of a national court is to rule on the matter in accordance with the findings of the Union's Court. So basically, what, in a nutshell, they're saying they're on the same sheet of paper here, okay? Finland and the rest of the EU are on the same sheet of paper. That's basically what that's saying. So, a contentious issue, I bet. Finland has long considered the right of Jehovah's Witnesses to maintain a personal information register. In 2014, the Helsinki Administrative Court ruled that the religious group's personal register was not illegal. Well, that was in 2014. However, before that, in 2013, a data protection board that operated under the Justice Ministry ruled that the practice of collecting personal data violated the law. So the debate centers on whether or not the info collected on behalf of the entire organization by individuals of the faith as they go door to door constitutes a registry, or whether or not it remains the property of the individual disciples. You bet it does. Nobody ever said, give me your house to house records. They didn't want mine. They had their own crappy house to house records. Information collected by Jehovah's Witnesses may include people's names, addresses, possible relatives, as well as info about medical conditions and personal beliefs. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And where they work, anything you can get on them. Anything. If their aunt died last week, if they have credit problems, whatever that person tells you that you think could be an angle to hook them in to get them dumped, that's what you're going to put down. Heck, they might even tell you their medication or their medical condition. They might tell you they have depression or bipolar. You'll write that down, right? And if they ever get dumped, it's going to be used against them. You're going to be like, oh, yeah, you remember brother so-and-so? I studied with brother so-and-so. When I first met him, he told me he had schizophrenia and bipolar. Really? Yeah. Now they're going to turn that as gossip. Yeah. But anyway, according to EU court, such information is not provided voluntarily, making the practice problematic. Yeah, if I thought a Jehovah's Witness was going to write down info about me and share that with their organization, I wouldn't want them to write that down. I wouldn't even talk to them. The ECJ ruled that Jehovah's Witnesses also collect personal data to determine their missionaries' operating zones, as well as info about persons who prefer not to be visited by the religious group. Okay. Jehovah's Witnesses have themselves defended the practice by saying that only certain individuals have access to the info they gather rather than the entire organization. The community said that the data collected is not the property of the umbrella organization, but is recorded in the personal notes of the individual volunteers. Okay, so the court ruling is a bit complex. Okay, well, it says here Jehovah's Witnesses spokesperson Veikko Lainonen declined to comment on the ruling on the organization's info gathering practices. He told Ile that the community is taking the ruling very serious, but wants to examine it thoroughly before adopting a position on it. At the moment, we are waiting mode. We are looking into what to do about the decision. We have nothing further to say on the matter. However, he said at a glance he would describe the court's ruling as complex. When you read the ruling, there are many arguments for and against. It is quite impossible and unnecessary to consider the matter on the basis of all these issues. The organization has continued its door-to-door ministry. They're not going to stop this. Listen, I don't even think the organization understands this stuff. I don't even think the organization really understands what in the world this means and what is going on. All right, we've got Unreluctant in here. We've got 4 people watching. Thank you for tuning in now and in the future. We've got Dawn Elizabeth, Evie Brooklyn, and the Unreluctant. Evie Brooklyn in the live chat says showing an adult movie in a large venue needs to have a rating. Mike and Kim have a video on it. Really? It's Sweden pissed about the movies JW showed at the convention. What? Let me see. What's the name of the video, Evie Brooklyn? Because I'm over here, Watchtower in Trouble, Finland, but this is Finland. they, they're getting their butts whooped everywhere, huh? Finland, Sweden. Let me see. Throwback Thursday, Watchtower Lawyer, Brumley, Russia. Wow, they're getting their butt whooped in Holland, Finland, Sweden, Russia, Australia. Holy cow. Oh, here we go. Watchtower in Trouble again, Sweden this time. Okay, you guys want to watch? Oh, this is 20 minutes. I don't know if I want to watch for 20 minutes, but I'm going to check this out a little later. Metro article. I'm going to translate this page. See how Google Translate works. Jehovah's Witnesses showed films that distance from without necessary permission. Oh, they're talking about the gay. Although the community lacks permission required, the movies are displayed to thousands of Jehovah's Witnesses with hundreds of children in the audience. Well, what do you expect from a bunch of pedophiles and pedophile enablers? What do you expect? Ew, nasty. So they showed like adult rated movies, films with anti LGBT messages are displayed, although the community lacks permission required. Oh, okay. So Finland, wait, is this Finland, right? Sweden? Sweden. Sweden is not very pleased with the anti-LGBT messages that they have played over there in that country. Another film shows how a little boy is treated with the fear of Armageddon, which Jehovah's Witnesses see as the final battle between God and those who refuse to subordinate to God's rule. You mean those who refuse to accept that two-witness rule? Oh, and then that crazy Armageddon thing where they're out in the field, right? And they've got you got all these military guys with machine guns, right? And they're standing there all Jehovah like. And then all of a sudden this bearded white guy on a horse with a bow and arrow comes out from the clouds. Homegirl done had some good ish, you know what I mean? Like, how many tabs of acid did you drop just now? Because that is never going to happen in real life. Maybe in the hyperspace life that happened. Yeah, I saw a couple of horses out there too. Shoot. But back to the physical world of Malkut. There's no horse up in the clouds and then a bow and arrow. People have machine guns these days. I hope this fool has like a AK-47 or like a something behind that bow and arrow. Because what are we back in the tribal times or something? No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I thought that was kind of a stupid thing, but yeah, I'm glad they are getting these people because that is child abuse. Every damn week I had to sit there as a kid and be afraid of Armageddon. I could not enjoy my childhood. I felt so guilty and bad for simply wanting friends. There were no other kids that were Jehovah's Witnesses anywhere near me, and in the congregation it was either 50, 60, 70-year-old, bitter old Jehovah Witness people. Racist too, some of them. Good God, some of these people were racist and really did not need to be racist. Like that just the last person that needed to be racist was them. uh, and then either that or you had people that were already in their 30s, and then the only kids that were like there were 5-year-olds, 6-year, little toddlers. and so nobody my age. So I'm going out into the community where I live, and because there's a lot of kids there, I go to school with them, I hang out with them. I kid you not, every single day I felt so bad. I felt worse than a murderer. I felt like Jehovah was going to destroy me for hanging out with these worldly kids, but I knew like I would get sick if I didn't have any kind of social, any kind of friends. I knew that already, as young as I was, that I was not going to be well if I didn't go out and hang out, and I wanted to hang out with my friends. So I felt so torn all my childhood because I was always hanging out with people that were not Jehovah's Witnesses, and I couldn't even live a normal childhood. I was made to feel so guilty about having friends that weren't Jehovah's Witness, and these friends weren't doing anything bad. I mean, they weren't doing drugs, sex, and rock and roll. I mean, I went up to this. I had this friend, and we didn't date or anything. She was just cool. Her name was shoosh, I don't remember her name. I see her face. She had two ferrets, and I thought it was cool. And she had these rabbits, and her room was all these posters. She had all these music magazine, and she had these posters of all these artists. And she loved Two Live Crew back in the day. She loved that song, excuse my French, okay, I don't want to offend anybody, but that's the name of the song. It was called Pop That Pussy, and the clean version was called Pop That Coochie. And she had the tape of Two Live Crew. She had every Two Live Crew tape ever. And I would just sit at her house and we would chill, and I'd look at all these posters while I'm listening to Two Live Crew with her, and I felt it felt really good because I could walk up the street to, I think her name was Melissa. I could walk up the street to Melissa's house. Took me about, see, I was on 7th Street and she was, see, 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd. I think she was on 2nd Street. Yeah, either 3rd or 2nd Street. And so it took me about 5 to 10 minutes to walk to her house. And whenever I was in the fuck the Jehovah's Witness mood, that started happening a lot more frequently the older I got. I would just walk up to her house after school. And sometimes I would go straight with her to her house after school and just hang out and listen to the nastiest and craziest rap music you could listen to at the time, which was Two Live Crew, and I loved it. I loved listening to them curse, and you know, it was that teen rebel stage. 411 Big Boss, how you doing, Big Boss? Uh, Big Boss, what? Evie Brooklyn says about time someone sees the trauma of their message. That's true. What's up, Big Boss? How you been doing? Evie Brooklyn says I never paid attention to that, which is why I got beat on the regular. Damn, Evie, you got beat too? Damn, Evie. I know a lot of us got beat. I don't even know how I survived it. I mean, even mentally, I think any, I don't know. I don't even know how I survived it. Honestly, I don't know how I didn't keep from just killing myself or either just going nuts and losing my sanity. I think I have in a way, but in a way where I can still function. But then I look at other people and say they're crazy themselves. They're insane. There's a lot of crazy people out here. You know it, and they are not in the mental institution. They are not on pills or mental pills. They're out here running things, and they need not to be running things. So yeah, Stephen Lett, for example. But yeah, I used to listen over at Melissa's house, and those little ferrets, they were so cute. They ate cat food, and they smelled weird. They smelled like cat pee, and they were completely clean. Ferrets have this natural smell. It smells like faint, uh, tangy. That's just their scent. But these were the sweetest little animals, and they have these long bodies, and they would chase me around. Sometimes we'd play chase, and yeah, I miss. I wonder what happened to her. I just lost touch with her after high school. But I used to hang out at her house and listen to Two Live Crew. We used to hear this one song. My mama and your mama were talking a little shit. My mama called your mama a bull dyke ass bitch. All right, so yeah, there was some nasty lyrics, but it felt good because I didn't want to be a Jehovah's Witness, and I knew I had to like live this double life. So and I was angry at the world, really. I just wanted to rebel and do my own thing. I knew that the people I was that were supposed to be my quote unquote parental guardians, they were hypocrites. They were liars. I had been lied to about my father and who he was and his role and what kind of person he was in life. I had been lied to about that. I had been lied to and lied about too. So I used to do something else too. Well, oh, I used to hang out at this other girl's house, and I didn't date her either. Okay, so don't get it twisted. We were good friends. Her name was Blanche. She had real red hair, super red hair. Now, she was the only redhead that I was not attracted to because I love redheaded. I just something when I see a redheaded woman, it's just an amazing thing. But I used to go over there to Blanche's house, and Blanche had the right name because her skin was so white and blanched. Blanche was one of those redheads. The skin is so white, like they're almost albino except they redheaded, and they can't come out in the sun. I mean, she came out obviously, but like it wasn't really good for her skin. It was super super white and like very sensitive to sun and stuff. Anyway, Blanche was not a sensitive person. She got into fights on a regular basis. She was a couple of years older than me too. I kind of was I didn't mess with Blanche. Like I would hang out with her, but I wouldn't mess like I didn't never get too comfortable with her. And I remember when I went to her house, I thought her mom was a Jehovah because her mom had these notes like the front, even at the front door it started, you had this note above the doorbell, and it instructed you how to ring the doorbell. The doorbell was quirky, and little did I know that the doorbell was about as quirky as the mom. That doorbell had a mind of its own, and she instructed you how to ring the doorbell. You couldn't just press it like a regular doorbell. You had to hold on to it for 3 seconds and then let go and then press it another 2 seconds for it to work. And that was that whole note. It was like a whole paragraph. And so I read that before I read that whole thing my first time coming over to Blanche's house before before ringing the doorbell. What's up, Chia Fade? Chia, chia. Hey, since the whole crew is here except for Something Found, I thought she would come on out when I started talking about the GDPR because I know there's something about that. It brings us together every time that topic comes up. But well, we were talking about big bosses. How you doing, Chia Fei? I have an announcement to make. Everybody knows that Big Boss and I, we're good buddies. We're online twins, or whatever, internet twins. And so I have an announcement to make for him. And so the announcement is, everybody, he's getting married. He's getting married. And of course, his new future wifey is God Warrior. So congratulate everyone. Just let's congratulate him and I'm just kidding. I don't know why I keep messing with Big Boss and God Warrior. I don't know why. But every time I see her on that couch saying, "She's not Christian," nah! I think of you, Big Boss. I don't know why. And every time she starts throwing off her watch, when she says, "I've had enough. Get these earpieces off me," and instead of reaching for her ear, she reaches for the jewelry on her wrist and throws it across the room and starts screaming, "Psychics, gargoyles, astrology, she's the tarot cards. I rebuke it in the name of the Lord." And she raises up her Bible. Every time she does that, I think of Big Boss. I don't know why. I have not even able to figure this out. So when you hear me joke about Big Boss and God Warrior, it's this weird thing, this weird connection in my head. I don't know why. But Big Boss, you better not be like crushing on her, because I know I joke about stuff and then sometimes it turns out true, the most craziest, insane things I joke about, and then it turns out to be true. So I hope this is not true, Big Boss. Okay? I hope this is not true. By the way, if you haven't seen God Warrior video on my channel, check it out. I love it. I've seen this thing. I must have seen it like 300 times now, and every time I still laugh. It just makes me laugh. When I feel down, I go watch God Warrior. When I feel down, I want to go watch God Warrior because, you know, she tore up that check so dramatically, said she didn't want nothing to do with it, that it was dork sided. It wasn't uh, from God, and all she wanted was God and her family. And she tore it up right there on the cam and threw it out. And then when she realized what the other lady had, how the other lady had instructed that the money, the $50,000, be allocated, which was just harmless stuff like what the girls wanted, dance lessons, uh, what the husband wanted, and then so her fat ass can get gastric bypass surgery, which she had been wanting for years and years and years, but couldn't afford because she was eating up all of her money. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna put it out there, and I can call her fat because I'm fat myself. All right. It's like a black person being able to say the N word, okay? Because they're black, they know about the struggle, and they can say whatever the hell they want. Well, I can say fat. So if you're overweight and you're feeling offended by my fatness and talking about fat people, then you can leave. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to stop. Yeah, Evie Brooklyn. You know what? I'm going to tell you something. Unless you're so obese where like tomorrow you're gonna like die for sure, and if you don't get this surgery, all right, fine, go ahead and get your gastric surgery. But most people that get that need to just go diet, because after you get the surgery you still will need to diet. Like you're not gonna like have the surgery and skip over dieting. Except now you're gonna have to. You can't even eat half the food that's out there anymore. You have to eat all these pills and eat all this weird crap for the rest of your life. So you're still on a diet. And you know what? I'd rather eat real food on a diet in a balanced way than eat pills and pill crap every day. She did. Chia Fade now says she did. She had a bucket of fried chicken right after. Yeah, now that's her karma. I know somebody. Uh, I know somebody that had surgery, had that bypass surgery. Okay, and I saw her 6 months later, and there was no change to her whatsoever. And it was to the point where I asked stupidly, and I should have not asked, but it was like I thought she was joking. And because I seriously, she looked exactly the same. Not like she wasn't bigger, she wasn't smaller, she was exactly the same. And you should, you had surgery, and she's like, yes. Indignantly, she says yes because how dare I not see it? You know, that bothered her because it was true. She did look the same, and yeah, she has not changed one bit, and she went through all that surgery trauma and all that money to end up looking the same. And you know what I say? You may as well just stayed fat and save that money because you're still fat and you went through all of this and you thought you was going to skip over dieting. You're going to have to diet. You're going to have to eat healthy at least most of the time. And if you can't do that, you need to just start weaning yourself down. Wean yourself down. You know, instead of eating a whole bucket of fried chicken, eat half a bucket. Eat half, and then you know what? Instead of inhaling it in like 15 minutes in front of the television, watching some crap, turn off the television, put the phone away, clean off the dining room table, set the table for a special person, make your meal a ritual, and then eat half the bucket instead of the whole bucket. If that's where you're at, okay, Evie Brooklyn, Gia Fade. I can't believe she ate a whole bucket. Damn, that's gluttony. That's even half a bucket for one person is gluttony. Okay, all right. When I went to Thailand, I learned about real portions. I'm going to break this down to you. Most of America are glutton. Whether you're a big person or a small person, we are trained to glutton. Because when you go to a country like Thailand, let's say the average medium pizza at Papa John's, the average medium pizza with whatever toppings, but a medium pizza from Papa John's or a medium Domino's pizza or a medium Pizza Hut pizza, okay? A medium, not a large, a medium. You know how many Thai people that will feed a medium pizza? It might feed three families of six people in Thailand. Okay, because when I'm serious, when I was in Thailand, what would only be for me, like one plate for me that I eat myself, I saw 4 to 5 people eat off that thing, share that thing. Okay, so I needed to cut into fourth, and that's why they were constantly, oh, you big, what in your belly? Mak mak. Mak mak means a lot. Much, much, many, many, right? Mak mak, your belly, mak mak, what in your belly? You have baby in your belly? Shit, I was only 30 pounds overweight at the time. I'm kidding. I was probably more like 80. But still, shit. You think that's big? You think that is big? I was in Alabama, in Georgia, Mississippi, where I look anorexic compared to what's over there. You know this if you lived in the South. There's some big people. What, you calling me big? Every day. You mag, what in your belly? So yeah, but the pizza, a medium pizza, you need to cut it into 4 pieces and eat a fourth of a medium pizza. That is your entire lunch if you were in Thailand. Okay, that's why they're so little over there because they eat like little birds, a little bit here and a little bit there, and then most of that. Stay away from the pizza and the sodas. You need to be drinking water, and you eat lots of raw fruits and veggies, raw. Okay. Now I just need to take my own advice. Yeah, Chia Fade. Me too. I'll eat a large pizza by myself. Screw that. But yeah, in Thailand, um, the portions are a lot smaller. Now you get big portions as far as like vegetables and fruits though, like the street vendors, and there's a zillion of them, and they never sleep. They have these fluorescent lights over their their carts at night. I'll be like at 3 in the morning walking around Bangkok, and there's like zillions of these small food vendors still rocking. I mean, 24/7. The place never sleeps, and you can get pineapple, fresh cut pineapple, big bag, mango. You can get coconut. Oh, these coconuts, fresh coconut, where they chop the top off and they stick a straw and they give you this little tool where after you drink the coconut milk, the coconut juice, you can scrape off the coconut meat real easily from inside. It's like the whole coconut is a cup that houses the juice, and then afterwards you can scrape the coconut meat easily out. It's so good. And they even have these crushed ice cream coconut. So it's not it doesn't have the sugar or anything in it. No preservatives. It's straight up freshly crushed ice with coconut milk and fresh coconut meat cut into small pieces. And then it's crushed or frappéed and like a smoothie of sorts. Some of them have maybe a little soy milk in them or something. They're so good. Chia Fade says, Evie Brooklyn said, just saw that her daughter died in a car crash 2007. Yeah, that was so unfortunate. Yeah, I saw that one of the daughters died. Yeah. A lot's happened since that show, you know. Chia Fade now says it was Church's chicken, Bob. She loves the name because Church. Yeah, all the other chicken is from the dork side. I rebuke it in the name of the Lord. You know why she was upset. Let's just put it out here since we have both Chia Fade and Evie Brooklyn in here because, I know you both have a very sharp perception. So I'm going to just put that out here because we know what that was about. She wasn't mad because some Satan dork side. She was a narcissist and she was losing control over her 23-year-old adult daughter that should have had a lot more of adultness in her, and freedom. There was quite the enmeshment. And the reason she was so upset was because her adult daughter was hypnotized by this Jenny or Jeannie, the other lady that came to stay in her house for trading spaces. She did a hypnotherapy or hypnosis thing on her, some kind of thing, relaxation. And some of the suggestions that she said was that she was her adult, she was her own person, she was independent and free. And so this God warrior lady, when she found out her adult daughter was hitting it off with this other lady, and of course, the lady's probably going to see that there's something not right here. Like, hey, young lady, you need to be a little bit more independent and, not let your mom tell you what to do so much. You're 23 now. You're not 14. So that was the whole devil and dork sided thing, right? She was losing control over her adult daughter, needing to live her own life. That's the whole deal. Remember, because she was mad. And the daughter was like, so it's our fault. And then she says, I needed your prayer. So you saw that she was directing her anger at her. Something was up with her. And the girl was like, yeah, I prayed. I prayed every day. I prayed the whole time. She goes, but I needed your prayers. And then for a minute, she goes, you did come to my mind. And then she goes right back into her thing. But I needed your prayers. Like everything she just said didn't mean a thing. So the girl goes, so it's our fault now. No, it's your fault because you're wanting to be independent. That's the whole thing. That's why she was mad. So she had to do damage control. She had to brainwashed the family into thinking this lady was just the devil and not to trust anything she said, so things will go right back under her control. So the 23-year-old daughter will go right back to being a 14-year-old teenage girl psychologically and continue to be infantilized so she can feed off of that girl psychically. That's what narcissists do. And that girl won't be able to live her own life. And the other daughters have the same fate coming when they become adult women. That's what narcissists do. And when she saw that the family wasn't buying it because the lady didn't, they hit it off with the lady. They were okay with her. She was nice. That's when she started freaking out. She's not Christian. Nah! The bottom line is she isn't Christian, so she's not to be trusted no matter how nice she is. Well, she didn't do that with us. She was nice. Her kids don't go to church or believe in God. How are you going to accept her over me? Right? So, yeah, you guys know that, right, Evie? What do you think about that? Margaret Perrin. Evie Brooklyn says she is Margaret Perrin on Facebook. She has videos. Evie Brooklyn says she don't eat the dark side meat. Puerto Rican coquito from the cart's delish. Yeah, those kids did look terrified. Dawn Elizabeth says, you mean those who refuse their indoctrination? Narcissists usually are drawn to high control religious groups because they can use the God thing to manipulate people and brainwash them. That's why whenever someone talks to me unsolicited, with the God stuff, I have a red flag. And it's like, okay, what kind of angle, what kind of manipulation is this person wanting to do now? And I don't have any toleration for it. I think if it works for you, keep it to yourself. You will be busy enough making it work for you. And but some people do get curious to say, well, what kind of spiritual thing, what do you believe in now? And it's a natural question, I guess, for people who are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. And I'll just say, I have something. I don't talk about it because I'm too busy working it, living it, but it works just fine for me, and I'm happy. And I wish that others find the same, comparably the same path. Doesn't have to be necessarily the same thing as me. But the church I attend only has room for one member. It's limited to one member. So there's that. And I don't go around spreading it. I don't need to convince people of its rightness or that it works or any of that. I don't. It's only me. And I think that if you're really living whatever it is you say you are, you're going to be busy. You're going to be too busy making it work every day for yourself because there are so many mysteries to the mind. There are so many things you don't know about yourself. There is an inner universe, just like there is an outer universe, of astronomical distance and variety and worlds and worlds and worlds of experience and knowledge and intelligence and genius inside every person, every single person. And a lot of this is latent. A lot of this is not being used for various reasons. And there's so many mysteries and quirks about yourself. There's so many paths and avenues to betterment and improvement. You can look at yourself and find everything wrong with yourself, and then you're going to find all those same areas that you can improve upon. And you're going to be way too busy working all those, trying to figure yourself out and work all that out, too busy to worry about the next person and whether they're trying to figure themselves out or what they're working on or if they're getting better. That's the way I see it. That is, if your stuff is really working, you're going to be too busy with yourself, applying it to yourself. But if it's not working for you, then you're probably going to be knocking on my door trying to convince me that it's working for you. Because then, if you can convince me, then it's easier for you to convince yourself. But without me and other people believing it, you're kind of lost on your own and you're not able to make it work for yourself. Right? Evie Brooklyn says JWs keep you busy so you never discover your strengths. Yeah, that is so true, and they will sap your creativity. 411 Big Boss says, LOL, y'all are crazy. 411 Big Boss, did you save me some barbecue from the 4th of July? You're supposed to be my twin. Where's my barbecue, man? I hope you saved me a few pieces. Oh yeah, they are the time bandits, GFA. They are the time bandits. But you know what? I tell you something. In therapy, there's some interesting techniques that have worked for me. I don't know, and if it's just me making it work, or if they are really all that awesome. But there's some, I guess you could call them creative visualization, exercises, rituals, meditations. Pick any number of that. It's not quite accurate, but I kind of call it like an experience beamer. And so what I do is I've gotten some of these exercises that they've given in therapy, where you use neuro linguistic programming (NLP), and you use something called timeline neuro linguistic programming. So you use specially formulated words that trigger subconscious and psychologic behaviors and tendencies, and you go back in time, you relax, you close your eyes, you go back in a calendar at least 10, 20 years. You can choose where you want to go back to. I usually go back to the point of my conception before I was even born. But excuse me, you can do a number of things, including symbolic things that have deep psychological meanings, to create an alternate past timeline that functions as if. So basically, you still have your regular memories. They're not going anywhere. Okay. You're not going to just wipe them away. You're not going to forget anything necessarily. Okay. You're still going to know what you've experienced. So it's not like you're wiped out, you know. You're still going to have that there intact, and you're still going to know that that's what you lived. That is your true past. You're not going to be confused about what your past is. All right. Nothing is changing on that end. But imagine an alternate street dividing from that, an alternate timeline past, where now you can set up and build a world of experience that is so real, or real enough to function as if real, as if it was your past, if that makes sense. So you're going to have an alternate timeline that you set up with an alternate past that you populate with events and experiences that you go into on a regular basis, that in your everyday life will now function as if real. And stories is what we call them in the ad world. And in the ad world, stories don't have to be believed. You don't have to believe the story. You'll still buy the product, because stories have a subconscious trigger in the human brain in general, no matter who you are. So basically, that's what you're doing with yourself. You're kind of reprogramming yourself, and you're using this psychotherapy technique along with something called NLP and timeline. So you're setting up a timeline. Like I said, I do it at the point of conception and I work forward, but you can choose it to go back 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And what happens when you come back out of that? I usually tend to feel a subtle, um, how can I describe this in words? Like a subtle shift. There's definitely, lack of a better word, it feels like I'm in a different reality. I'm still here, still everything's the same, everything looks the same, but I just sense something profoundly has changed to the point where I'm not sure if it's inside me or outside me or at the point between the outside and the inside. But it's a positive change nonetheless, a healing. Okay. So, for example, what I've done is I've gone back at the point of conception and I've set up an alternate family. And in this family, I had a nurturing mother and I had a very compassionate but firm father that I respected, and that was my hero. And I mean, I've gone through this over the years, so I've got intricate storylines, where I've engaged myself with that to the point where I've combined a lot of the therapy exercises with a lot of just my own, personal meditations too. But what it does, at first, you may not feel any different, but the more you go into this alternate path and the more you populate it and the more you energize it with your engagement and your emotions, you will begin to feel as if you've actually lived that in some kind of real way. Even though you still, you're very clear about what your own past is, but you will have resources to draw on, to draw from, as if you actually physically had it in this particular time and space. So, yeah, some cool stuff. 411 Big Boss says, "You come around my way and we will eat like kings." Amy Brooklyn says he gave the barbecue to God Warrior. And Big Boss says, "Bobby, I am lifted." All right. Gave the barbecue. How could you give the barbecue to God Warrior? I thought we were brothers and twins. We were family. We're supposed to be XJW family, or pasta family. Don't I count for doesn't that count for something? I mean, I was supposed to get that barbecue first. She's a God Warrior. She would condemn you in the name of the Lord. And here you are giving her the barbecue. And how many pieces did you give her? Was it beef ribs? Because that's my favorite. And why did you do that? I mean, you could have called me and asked me first and say, "Look, I got this plate of barbecue. I want to give it to God Warrior because I love her." I want to give it to God Warrior because I love her. Oh shoot, let me leave Big Boss alone. uh well, the Jehovah's do keep you busy though. And I think a lot of us come away with that Puritan work ethic that probably is not the best for productivity. Productivity is doing the right kind of work at the right time for the right amount of time. And that's kind of the antithesis to the Jehovah's Witnesses, because the Jehovah's Witnesses is all about do all the time, 24/7. And that's just not productive. You can't perform at your peak productivity like a machine. The human being has cycles. You have cycles of willpower and strength, you have cycles of focus, and you're just not going to get around those cycles no matter what. You can force yourself, but you're not going to get maximum productivity like a machine. You have to have down periods, you have to have regular breaks, and if you just ignore that, you're going to be sick. You're going to have addictions probably to compensate. and you're going to have problems. And so, yeah, we carry that Puritan work ethic, and we tend to copy that over. I was joking with something found the other day about XJWs and Jehovah's Witnesses not being any different in many ways. And one of the ways that Jehovah's Witnesses and XJWs are alike is probably in the ways that we wouldn't want to be. One of the ways is this activism stuff. The activism stuff is like field service to Jehovah's Witness. Let's get it real. 411 Big Boss has been beating himself up every damn day for not having a channel up for support every Friday, and he was treating it like a second job. Had to be every Friday there for everybody and have it up and running. And there's so many other people. Alexandria James, I mean, she is a workhorse. Just work on that blog and all the activism does. And she told me too, we've had discussions about different kinds of topics, and she's made it clear activism comes first. And I've had that too. It was my number one priority at some point years ago, and it was a pretty crucial thing I was working on. And I demanded a lot out of myself, and I felt bad when I wasn't working on it. And that Puritan work ethic, it comes, I think, with the cult indoctrination in general, because I've talked to some Scientologists out on Twitter, and they've had similar problems where they feel guilty about not doing enough, and they're already on there all the time tweeting and doing activism, exposing Scientology, and retweeting my tweets, which is exposing Jehovah's Witnesses, and they're retweeting my retweets from a guy who's exposing the Unitarian Universalists. So, her name is Vicky Troublemaker on Twitter. So she's all guilty feeling because she thinks she's not doing enough. And I said, oh, no, that's just Field Service Guild. We call that Field Service Guild, Jehovah's Witnesses. I got it, too. I feel guilty about not doing enough activism in the ex-Jehovah's Witness community. She goes, really? I go, yeah, and by the way, thanks for retweeting my tweets. She goes, yeah, same to you. You've been retweeting mine. And I go, yeah, and I've been retweeting this guy, Robin Edgar, who's talking about the Unitarian Universalist Church covering up child abuse. So she went and retweeted his from my retweet. So you're sitting there feeling guilty when in reality, you've just helped like so many different groups. You've helped the Jehovah's Witnesses, you've helped the ex-Scientology, you've helped the Unitarian Universalists, and whoever else. Evie Brooklyn says Alexandria does not get the credit she deserves. Yeah, her and Stephen Unthank. Look, everybody on YouTube is important. I love what you're doing. Every single person has their place. Even with people I don't get along with or that don't really like me or whatever, they still have their place because it's about experience. In the cosmic, bigger spectrum of things, your experience is what is necessary to this cosmos, to this universe. Objectively speaking, a straight up experience. Now, the details is always the devil's in the details. And, is this right? Is that wrong? Is he doing this? Is she doing that? That's the everyday mundane world. But in the bigger picture, everyone is important here on YouTube. Having said that, there are people that are not known, that are not talked about, that don't get enough credit. And one of them is Alexandria James. I'm very impressed with her writing. her research, and she's a very strong personality. Comes across as very strong, respectable, and hardworking. And she has some good stuff too. I was sending her flyers out years before I knew her. I was sending out her JW victims.org flyers to different law officials. That's how much I respected her site and her writing. Chia Fade now says activists have to understand that they're not responsible for other people not receiving their message. Do what you can, but enjoy your post cult life. Yeah, you see, ex JWs, uh, we're still the same as Jehovah Witness. I'm just gonna put it out there. This YouTube and Facebook is nothing but a kingdom hall, except everybody gets to be an elder now, so you know it's gonna be some drama. You know there's gonna be some shit. Shit is gonna hit the ceiling because you've got quirky people in our community. I'm just gonna be honest. There's some weird people up in this community. Weird. Yeah, you want him, honey boo. But if you think that you have left the Kingdom Hall, I'm here to let you know right now, you're still up in it. Except everybody now can be an elder. I can disfellowship you for brazen conduct in 0.35 seconds by putting you on block, on ignore, or whatever the thing is called in whatever social media. And I don't ever have to see or hear from you ever again. You get to sit at the back of the Kingdom Hall when you lurk on the YouTube, right? Somebody you and that person don't have a lot of, rapport. I'll put it like this. You and that person don't have a lot of rapport. You don't think each other is all that cute. Well, you still want to go watch their video. You still want to sit and listen to the live stream, but you got to sit in the back row. You can't raise your hand and comment in this Kingdom Hall. I'm serious. Shunning is still, everybody is still shunning. Okay? People are still shunning. I don't care. I will disfellowship somebody in a heartbeat and don't care. I don't care. I'll put it to you right now. Yes, this is my Kingdom Hall. I'm the CO. I'm the governing body of this YouTube channel. I'm the Jehovah of this YouTube channel. Okay? And I have the right to disfellowship and mark. I can do marking talks on here too. You know about the marking talks, right? We've all seen these marking talks all over YouTube. So yeah, we tend to think we're so different from what's inside the Jehovah's Witness tower, but are we really all that different? Are we really all that different? We gossip the same way about each other, don't we? Evie Brooklyn says, let me see. Chia Fate now says, activists have to understand that they're not responsible for other people not receiving their message. Okay, I already read that. Evie Brooklyn says, yeah, but Steve's name is unthanked, so there's that. LOL. Names do make a difference. Names do make a difference, people. Names do make a difference. But I want to overcome this unthank thing and thank this man. You see, this is the guy right here. This is one of the pivotal men. This guy's a freaking genius. When you start looking up a little bit about Stephen Unthank, Google Stephen Unthank and Royal Commission. Google Stephen Unthank, Jehovah's Witness. You're going to find a treasure trove of stuff. Give yourself a week or two to just start Googling, finding out. Stephen Unthank, who is this? I don't think he's got a YouTube anywhere. He's not out like John Cedars, got books and workshops and traveling and PayPal, donate to me. It's all fine. Look, I'm not knocking it. It's all good. I don't have a problem with it. I might have put a donation thing out here one day myself. But I have never seen this dude before or known about him till I started digging a little bit. I started digging, and I was like, holy guacamole. This guy's a genius. Now, I don't know his educational background, but after he left the Jehovah's Witnesses, he had some kind of mojo going on where he became acting prosecutor and going after the Jehovah's Witnesses. And by the way, this guy is crucial in starting the Australian Royal Commission, period. Not just making it go after the Jehovah's, but actually making it come to fruition, period. He's one of the key people because for years and years, he has been writing and petitioning and working in the legal system some kind of way. He wasn't a lawyer, but here, let me show you. I'm going to give you a couple of pages to get started. Check him out. Stephen Unthank, Jehovah Acting Prosecutor. Here we go. Stephen Unthank. Oh, I need to spell it with a V. Google Stephen Unthank Jehovah Acting Prosecutor. That'll get you started. And you're going to see a lot of interesting stuff that goes way back. But in any case, to be able to act as an acting prosecutor in a real court of law, and he went after the governing body. Here we go. Submission and response to the consultation paper for the establishing of the terms of reference for the Child Abuse Royal Commission. So that was back in 2012. This submission, prepared by Stephen Unthank, JW Survivors, is a volunteer, not-for-profit, community-based victim advocacy group for survivors of the Church of Jehovah's Witnesses within Australia. So this was November 26, 2012. So and this isn't even the earliest. I think down here you see 2011. If you go on this forum here, you'll get some more info too. The results of the second round of court hearings held October 11th, 2011 are as follows. Case number, then you have the case number, acting prosecutor, Mr. Stephen Unthank. Accused, the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses. So this has been going on for a long time, people. This Barbara Anderson thing that's happened recently, this is only a portion of the long snake that has been undulating through time since at least 2011. Okay. And it says here, the accused failed to appear and was not represented by legal counsel. But in any case, you can follow this and read what happened. But that's our man, Stephen Unthank. Check him out. This is a person you're not going to see at big JW meetups. They're not going to be out, celebrity-like or whatever. But this guy, I venture to say, and he's got social media profiles now. He just doesn't put his name out, and he's not out to try and get attention and subscribers as much as he's out to take care of business. I mean, look, you can have 1 million subscribers, but being an acting prosecutor and going after the governing body, that takes a lot. You've got to be a badass, seriously, a badass. So Stephen Unthank, I want to thank you on behalf of the XJW community. I want to take a few minutes to just give you that space and that recognition, and thank you for all you've done and for what you continue to do. I appreciate that, and many others like you. So yeah, what do you guys think about that? Where am I at? Oh, here we go. 411 Big Boss says, "Are the roasts considered marking talks?" Yeah, I think so. I think you could say that. Yeah, I have to admit that was a marking talk for 411 Big Boss. Yeah, that was a marking talk. Evie Brooklyn says Stephen Unthank made one of the best videos ever seen growing up JW. Yup. 411 Big Boss says that's epic stuff. Yes. Evie Brooklyn says I found Unthank when I was first looking. He has many TV appearances. Really? Oh, I need to check that out. Evie Brooklyn says exactly, getting shit done with no fanfare. Yeah. There's a lot of things you can get done without anyone ever having to know. I mean, people will know, but I'm saying you don't have to put it out there. I basically like to always keep something in my back pocket, even if it's something that really wouldn't mean anything to you personally, you know. But just to keep an air of mystery about yourself, and to have people surprised pleasantly, like, "Oh, I didn't know you know how to do that. Oh, that's kind of cool," or you know, "Oh, just something that keeps things interested." But some people do like to put it all out there, and I don't know. I don't know if there's anything wrong with that. I know there's been a debate about people. Mop Floyd, how you doing? Cool picture. It's a tabby. Mop Floyd. Evie Brooklyn says Unthank never made it about him. Yeah. This is what I appreciate about people. And it's easy to drink the Kool-Aid, to make it about yourself. It's so easy, especially when you've been in the Jehovah's Witness life and now you've got this group of people that think you're cool, and the numbers can fool you. You can have 5,000 subscribers, and in your mind, somewhere in the back, they're your friends. They love you, and it can be enticing. It can be enticing, and you can start, like I said, this Kingdom Hall out here. You are the elder of that Kingdom Hall. So if you get drunk and you start running amok, then that's your Kingdom Hall. And people don't ever leave the damn Kingdom Hall. This digital Kingdom Hall, people don't leave the damn Kingdom Hall. They're still in the back rows lurking at you. You're still in their back rows lurking at them. The regular Kingdom Hall, at least people don't come in there. You can see them if they're in there. But this Kingdom Hall out here on the internet, this Kingdom Hall has everybody up in it. They don't ever damn leave. The picture is the real Floyd. Oh, I like it. He's a cool cat. He's a really cool cat. I love cats. Looks like my Coco a little bit. She's a tabby. She's an orange tabby. So field service, the Kingdom Hall is your YouTube channel, your Facebook. Field service is activism, all right? So every time you start feeling guilty about not doing enough activism, keep in mind that's your field service, Puritan work ethic. That's that watchtower thing. You don't have to do things the same way anymore. There's something that Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett, big time billionaire investors, they're investment guys, wealthy guys. If you're looking to maybe increase your chances of having a little bit more wealth in life, I would recommend you reading up on Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett stuff, especially the mental models. But basically, in their book, in one of their quotes in their annual reports and in their annual meetings, Warren Buffett says something to the effect of that investors often do stupid things. They're very smart people, and because they're smart, they end up having a disadvantage because they overlook the common sense stuff. And he says something to the point where you don't need to know complex math to to be good in finance and in investment. In fact, it can work against you because when you know the complex math, you look at the numbers and you try to use the fancy formulas to give yourself a sense of certainty and of course an advantage. And you overlook the common sense stuff. So with this, keep in mind the numbers as far as viewers, as far as subscribers. Yes, they have their place. When you go into your YouTube analytics and you see the numbers, realize they have their place, but you can fool yourself with those numbers. You can have 1 million subscribers, but your reach or your overall effect on the bigger picture of things may not be as big as someone acting as a prosecutor going after the governing body who may not even have 50 subscribers to their YouTube. You have to look at the overall big picture, and some of these variables are number one, intangible, and number two, impossible to track and measure. But that doesn't mean you just skip over them and ignore them because they could be the thing that counts the most. The very thing that you can't measure or track could be the very thing that counts the most. And in business, it is like that 9 times out of 10. In business, it is like that. You are going to deal with a huge amount of uncertainty while at the same time working your ass off to shore up loose ends that you know you can tie up. So, common sense. Yes, Evie Brooklyn. Intelligence does not make you wise. Common sense does. Yes. In tennis, as in investing, it's about your ability to select inferior players more so than your overall talent and skills. And that's in business, in investing, in tennis, and in many competitive areas. It's your ability to select inferior opponents that will give you the edge or the advantage more so than your overall talents and your abilities. That's why there's a lot of stupid people making a lot of money. There's stupid people that have never gone to college, never might not even be high school graduates. You know, I think Sam Walton, the guy that started Walmart, I don't think he went to college. I think he worked for Kmart as a in high school, and then he had a better way of doing things, and that's when he went on to start Walmart. Mott Floyd says the governing body does Jehovah Tube only 8 allowed in the chat. Hey, Sour Blaze Hayes. We got 10 people watching now. All right. So we are just kind of doing a support chat. We had some technical difficulties earlier, so I don't have any major topics to discuss. I've been kind of out of the loop. Like I said earlier, I got distracted with my professional life and my career life. There's a couple of things that came together for me. You know, you have to be careful what you wish for, what you ask for, what you work for. Be clear on your goals, be clear on your purpose, because you just might end up getting what you want, and then you have all this other stuff to contend that you didn't even know was part of the package. And sometimes that happens. You know, you can prepare as much as you want. You can really want something and you be sure on it. And then when it's time for you to experience that particular thing that you've always wanted, there are unexpected variables that you have to kind of adjust to. You know, a lot of things that we want and that we think we want require lifestyle changes. People say, oh, I want $1 million. I wish I could win the lottery for $1,000,000. Raise your hand if you've ever thought, hey, I wish I could just win the lottery for $1,000,000. I've had that thought a couple of times, but you know, while it looks on the surface like, wow, $1,000,000, you can just hand that right on over to me, and I'm going to put it in the bank, and I'm going to buy all these goodies here, and I'm going to buy a bigger house, I'm going to buy a big car, I'm going to buy me some clothes, I'm going to donate to the cat shelter. You know what? I'm just going to create a cat shelter and rescue all kinds of cats. What else? I'm going to take a trip to Hawaii. I'm going to go out here and eat some sushi. I'm going to take my friends out on the night. Whatever, right? I'm going to invest into this over here and make it work for me. All these things sound great, and they're so easy to do, right? But when you do have that kind of money, there is responsibility that comes with it. First of all, you have to manage it. Otherwise, you might end up in worse debt than you were before. That's happened. I've seen a documentary on this homeless guy who won $100,000. He had been homeless for over a decade, and in 2 years he went through $100,000 just like that, and he had about $50,000 in debt, but he didn't care because he was going back to the street. So, that's the only life he knew for years. But yeah, imagine being homeless. You don't have any debt, but you're homeless. At least you don't have any debt, and you win this $100,000, something that you would think is a good thing. You're not homeless for a couple of years. You're living in. He couldn't stay in apartments because he was too loud, and he kept getting evicted from the apartments. So people wouldn't rent to him no matter how much he was able to put down. And that can get expensive because some places might rent to you, but then they want a hefty deposit because they don't really trust you. You don't have a good rental record. Um, and he didn't know anything about mortgages, uh, finance rates. He hadn't had any credit that he built up over the years. He didn't have a job history. So he didn't know how to buy a house. Um, he didn't know about car loans, car insurance, keeping up with insurance payments every month. He wasn't used to that because his life was different. But I'm sure at one point he's said to himself, "Oh, I wish I could win a lot of money so I could get off the street." And one day it happened for him. But was it really all that good? So there you go. It's be careful what you wish for because you just might get it, and then you're going to have to do some adjustments to life. No problem. I always work on adjustments on a daily basis like that. I'm used to it. Never really stay in my comfort zone, but sometimes it does take me away from this. Evie Brooklyn says Kylie Jenner worth a couple of million on lip kits. Really? Lip kits? What's that? Okay, Sour Blaze Hayes. She says you can't hang for long. Got some exciting things for y'all. Talk to you soon. All right, Sour Blaze. Chia Fade says I have the equivalent of 3 college degrees. It's from all of my Watchtower and Awake reading. Amy Brooklyn says, LOL, Chia, remember that BS? Oh, yeah, they used to tell us reading the Awake is just like getting a college education. It's comparable to a college education. Really? You're going to tell me about the yellow-haired canary in the Amazon and how it likes to pick fruit off the trees. You're going to write me a whole damn article about this. No, I love birds. Don't get me wrong. I love animals. I thought those birds were sweet and cute, little yellow-haired canaries or whatever, eating berries. Cool, yeah. But you're going to write a whole damn page about this damn bird eating berries and tell me this is a college education? You expect me to get a job from this shit? They won't even take my ass at McDonald's. If I come over here and say, hey, McDonald's, I want to get a job, they're going to say, well, are you a high school graduate? Well, no, not exactly, but I've got my awake education here in this yellow-haired canary. You know what they're going to say? They're going to say, take your yellow-haired canary ass out of here. You're not hiring your ass. Yeah, I remember that. I was told that. Don't go to college, just read the Awakened Watchtower. Yeah, so I can scrub toilets all my life like you people? I don't think so. Look, I've always known that maybe for some people that's all right. I'm not knocking janitorial service. I've done it for years. It's a respectable job, and you can make some good money. You can make some good money cleaning them damn toilets. I'm here to tell you. Um, for one thing, a lot of people don't want to get their hands dirty. But if you do office cleaning, you're not going to deal with a lot of dirt because most of the office buildings, those toilets are usually cleaner. The ladies keep them clean, and the guys aren't as dirty as maybe toilets in a restaurant that you're cleaning or toilets in a factory. Yeah, factories are the worst, especially out in the main floor, factory floor. And especially if the work morale is low, oh boy, you're gonna get it in the toilet. I feel sorry for the people cleaning those toilets because they're gonna get the butt of every anger and frustration in the form of shit and piss. I mean, and then some of these women, I'm telling you, I've seen the women's toilets just as bad as the men's toilet. It's like, dang, these women are nasty. Just oh. But yeah, Evie Brooklyn says it's why some people cannot adjust to having money. They never had to handle the BS that comes with it. Exactly. The more money you have, first of all, you're going to have to deal with the tax man right off the bat. You're going to have to understand a new tax situation, a new tax bracket. If you were to win $1 million, let's say you're an XJW and you've been struggling along for however long, and tomorrow you won $10 million. Uh, you're going to have to deal with a new tax situation because those taxes need to be paid ASAP. The IRS will penalize you if you don't pay your taxes on time. And they don't care that you never knew anything about taxes, that you grew up a Jehovah's Witness, that the Awake magazine never told you this information. They don't give a darn about any of that. They're going to penalize you and they're going to make you pay a penalty on top of everything for being late on paying taxes. So if you don't know, how to set that straight, because you're going to need to know your tax bracket because your taxes are now going to be taxed differently. And then after a certain tax bracket, the way that the process of being taxed is differently too. If you are in a higher tax bracket, some people, they get into that tax bracket where they're right at the cusp, where now they're in a higher tax bracket, but they're being told by some people, or even tax professionals have said this crazy, ridiculous crap to people. They've told people not to make more money because now you're going to be in a higher tax bracket and you're going to be taxed a lot more. And, you're going to have less money. But it's not quite true because that tax bracket is not being taxed all at the same process. You're going to have a lower tax that you're going to be taxed at for the first half of your income. And then the other portion is going to be at the higher tax bracket. But some not so savvy tax professionals have been telling people that ignorance. So if you've been told that ignorance, it's a lie. Do not listen to it. Make more money if you can, because the tax bracket that you're in is not going to be taxed the same all the way throughout your earnings. You're going to have a lower type of tax for a portion of your earnings. You're not going to have the same one. so that you can still come out a winner at the end, basically. So the IRS sets that up, but some people in the tax world will tell you that foolishness, okay? But nonetheless, if you have extra amount of money, you're going to need to know this tax stuff. That's what I'm saying. So do you know about it? Might as well get ready now, right? um, After you get away from this, you're going to have to deal with the social aspect, because if people know, if you've told people, best believe you're going to get hit up. You're going to have people come out of the woodworks that never gave you the time of day. Hey, how you doing, friend? What? Friend? I didn't even think you knew I existed. What? Of course I know you exist. Yeah, but you never even give me a second look. Oh, that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean I haven't been thinking about you. How you been, buddy? You're so, oh, I like that suit you got on. I like that dress. I like your shoes. I like you. I want to get to know you. Want some of your money. I mean, would you like to come over for dinner, for a get together, brother? You're going to have old women calling you. Oh, my cat, Sonny, needs a surgery. He's 13 years old. You remember Sonny? Oh, yeah, I remember Sonny. Yeah, well, Sonny, he's almost going to die if he doesn't get this $10,000 surgery. $10,000? What kind of surgery is it? Oh, I don't know yet, but as soon as I find it, some kind of medical name. But if you could just hand me that $10,000, we can save Sonny real quick. Let me get back to you on that. Yeah, you're gonna have people calling you that their left arm is about to fall off and only you can save them. You're gonna have people knocking at your front door with cookies and biscuits and brownies, special brownies. Yeah, you're gonna have all kinds of new friends that will have all kinds of creative ploys and methods of getting in your wallet. And you're gonna have women or men or both, probably both. I mean, depending on where you're at. There's people that don't give a damn. They don't care about gender or anything. They'll hit you up either way. They don't care. If the price is right, they don't care. Shoot. But you have to deal with the social aspect of that. And then, like I said, now after you get past the tax man and the social aspect, then you have to deal with yourself. Now, funny thing about money is it's going to amplify who and what you are all the way around like a circle. All the good and all the not so good. So if you have any addictions, which I suspect you might do have a couple of severals, a few, we all have some kind of vice. I think most of us listening probably have salt, sugar, and fat as a couple of them. Try to get off sugar completely, refined sugar, for a whole week. You ever tried it? I've yet to be able to do it past 3 days. I heard it gets easier after 6 or 7. But all of those addictions now, you're going to have a lot more opportunity to engage in them. So if you're a drunkard, just think what a $10 million will help you get. You're going to be drinking in style, Cristal and good stuff. Going to drink a lot of it too. Probably so much your liver's probably going to keel over. Or you might use that money to go to rehab. And you might be able to quit drinking. Or you could end up with some kind of cult psychotherapist sucking out every last dollar out of your pocket, brainwashing you. Yeah, you quit smoking, but now you're freaking culting. You're culting, not smoking. By the way, we've got 8 viewers watching right now. Thank you for tuning in. Not really talking about anything in particular, but you know, I did have something prepped for you. You know, I always do. So I want to talk to you about this. Tarot cards. I'm going to put up the thing on the screen, and then I'm going to take a break. And when we get back, we'll talk about tarot cards and some of the uses for the tarot cards. Beyond just fortune telling, of course. So let me see what kind of song I want to play. I'm going to play Used to Rock. I love that song. I'll be back.
Looking for a sign, try to find one every day. So anything you got to say it now. If there's something here to find, show me how to play the game. Tell me if you feel the same, just say it now. You used to rock, our love. You used to rock, our love. I think it's time to see what you got. Life you really need or what you think you want. Sometimes it's hard to see what's right before your eyes. If you can't believe that is enough, happiness can be better than any drug. All the time the feeling was right there to have. You used to rock, our love. You used to rock, our love. City lights would disappear into the morning. Lonely nights are never here, no living what you want. Soon you start to feel away your heart will not allow. If you try to find some peace in what you got, learn to smile and be at ease with everything you are.
All right, I'm back. All right, so let me see who's out here. All right, Evie Brooklyn, you out? I'll see you later then. Thanks for stopping in. All right, we have 7 people watching right now. And I'm going to talk about tarot cards. Now, a lot of people, as I said before, that aren't knowledgeable about tarot cards and the occult, they either think of these as the devil, as something evil, or they think of tarot cards as fortune telling devices that can tell them the future, that can tell them winning lottery numbers, excuse me, that can tell them when someone dies, excuse me, you know, these superstitious things. But tarot cards, when you look and study the mythology and the folklore from a polymath perspective, and a polymath, let me just Google for you what polymath means, and you can have maybe a better idea of where this discussion is headed in terms of tarot cards. It's unique. You're probably not going to see this on the 1-900 psychic lines, or when you go to your local psychic, they're probably not going to talk to you in this manner about tarot cards. But a polymath is a person of wide-ranging knowledge or learning. So this is somebody who knows about a lot of different subjects, okay? They might not necessarily know everything, okay? But it is just somebody who has a wide-ranging knowledge of learning. So how do you get a wide range of knowledge or learning? Is there an advantage to it? Of course. The more you know to a point, the more opportunities you have in all areas of your life. Not only that, but when you can tie things together that on the surface seem unrelated, but you can find common correspondences or links or connections, then now you can often have a synergistic advantage that is greater than the sum of its parts. And this is what Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett, the big time investment guys I told you about earlier, this is what they call the Lollapalooza effect. And it's probably it's how can I put it? It's like an intellectual orgasm. It's an aha, a huge aha, because you don't just have the aha in one topic or in one subject. You have the aha in many, many areas, and it's like your whole mind and soul and brain just lights up. Okay. So having said that, how does that fit in with the tarot cards? Well, the tarot cards is basically mental models, just basic patterns, or basic a basic map of consciousness, psychologically speaking, of the human consciousness. And the tarot card deck that I use is the Thoth deck. It is cross-cultural, so it incorporates all major continents, cultures from all major continents, symbols and meanings, visual symbols from all major continents, cross-cultural. Now, there's 78 cards in the tarot card deck. The traditional tarot card deck has 78 cards. Now, there are some decks that are called tarot cards that are not 78. Those are not true tarot card decks. Not saying that you can't use them, not saying that they don't have some use, but they are not the true tarot card deck. So keep that in mind. Now, having said that, there are many types of tarot card decks. They're pretty, they're beautiful. Once again, I'm not saying that you can't use them, but the Thoth deck, among several others, is the most symbolically occult accurate deck. And it's the most symbolically rich deck, one of the most symbolically rich decks that I know. So let's break that down. 78 cards. How on earth are you going to learn almost 100 cards? I'm going to show you a very easy way today to already set up the structure. So when you look at your tarot card deck, you can already figure this out super easy. And you can see just by the visuals that it'll make sense to you. All right. So there's 22 universal laws 22 major universal laws. And that's 0 through 10 twice. And the 0 is before the 1. So you have 1 through 10, and you actually have 11 digits. You have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Twice. So 11 times 2 is 22. You get it? The 0 starts at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. So why is it twice? Well, the tarot cards correspond to the Kabbalistic tree. Now, Jewish tradition has kept this Kabbalistic tree for many years, but it is not originally Jewish. Although the Jews have been the main ones keeping that tradition of the Kabbalah and the Kabbalistic tree of life. Now, you have three different kinds of Kabbalah. You have the practical one, which is what the occult community uses. And then you have the dogmatic and traditional Kabbalah, which is what certain schools of Jewish religion and studies use. Okay. And some of them would be very, very angry to know that people are using the tarot cards with the Kabbalistic tree of life. But they can't stop people from using that system in that way. But yes. So, and when you look at the tree of life, which I'll show you on another slide, you have a path that goes down, and then you have a path that goes up. Okay, so keep that in mind. There's always that yin yang, up and down. So these principles, these laws, there's 11 of them, 0 through 10. Okay, 0 through 10, which is actually 11. 0 through 10, you have them going down the tree, and then ascending right back up. You have another 0 through 10 or 11. Okay, and these are universal cosmic principles. These are principles that are beyond your community, beyond the world, beyond the solar system, beyond, these are just beyond planets. These are cosmic principles in picture form. So no matter if you're French speaking, no matter if you're Thai speaking, if you're English speaking, no matter if you're Chinese, the pictures will still mean the same thing to you. You will still have those same archetypes. Now, these archetypes are really good to use in therapy when you're going to counseling, because they hit home a message that bypasses your conscious blocking agent, is what I call it. So, for example, yes, you'll see like the magician card. You're consciously going to know it's a magician, but at the same time, the symbology also hits a deeper meaning to your subconscious. So when you're using the magician card, for example, in conjunction with therapy, what I like to use to do is take the magician card, and I would take about 10 minutes before I go to therapy, and I would use that magician card in all kinds of scenarios of seeing myself healed throughout the therapy, seeing myself being able to use that therapy session in my dreams to further heal, to reflect back on it, and to have some kind of self-healing magic. And I would just use my imagination with that. And what happens with these archetypes, because they are so huge, the ideas and principles are so universal, is that you, with work, you're able to override programming from the watchtower or dysfunctional programming from your family. You're able to set up an alternate. And the archetypes are much larger than your family experience. Remember, these are cosmic forces that you're opening up in your mind. These archetypes are all inside you as well as outside of you. So, like the archetype of the Empress, that's the mother archetype. And I've used the Empress a lot to work through dysfunctional family issues. The Emperor is the father archetype, and you can use that to work through father issues or issues with authority, even if you have issues with a boss. A lot of times we tend to carry our subconscious unfinished business that we had in our family with our father. We might tend to carry that over to our boss if he's a male person of authority. Those dynamics can easily transfer unconsciously to your work situation, or vice versa. If there's mother issues and you have a female boss, and she might end up triggering you subconsciously, you might not even consciously be aware of it. So there's all these things that you can clean up, these deeper levels of yourself that you can clean up with the archetypes, the 22 universal laws. Now you have over here on the right, the red. Oh, let me explain this to you. All right. There's four basic things you need to remember about the tarot cards, and that's the four basic elements. Basically, reality is made out of four metaphysical basic elements. These are not physical elements, but they are metaphysical. And this is air, water, fire, and earth. And each of these elements has certain characteristics. For example, air is hot and moist. Water is cool and wet. So the opposite of air is water. The opposite of air is water, okay? And one is dry. I mean, one is hot and moist, and one is cold and wet, okay? And then earth is cold and dry, and then fire is hot and dry. Okay, so you have these varying combinations of opposites. You already start seeing it in the basic principles of the four basic elements. So here you understand that reality is made up of opposites, of an interplay of opposites, that everything in reality is made up of interplay of opposites. Now, swords here, air, also corresponds to the idea of the mental realm. There's different realms to you as a person. You have a mental aspect of yourself, you have an emotional aspect, which is represented by the cups. You have a spiritual aspect, which is represented by the wands, and you have a physical aspect, which is represented by the pentacles and discs. All right, so four basic elements plus one, which is spirit, equals to five. You can count them all in one hand. So those are the five basic mental models you need to remember about tarot cards. Okay? Now, moving on, we've already covered the 22 universal laws and principles. They are found in the major arcana. So when you open up your tarot card deck, you will have Roman numeral cards. All of the Roman numerals, there are 22 of them. Those cards are called the major arcana, and these are the 22 universal laws. Okay? And these archetypes can help you reprogram yourself on a cosmic level. What that means is you will experience effects that are not always going to stay within you. You will have parallel experiences to mirror the changes within you as you use these tarot cards in a psychotherapeutic setting, or in creative visualization, or even in magic. The next one here is 16 types of self-mastery here in red. 4 times 4. You have 4 basic elements, and you have 4 cards representing each of the basic elements, which is 4 times 4, which equals 16. And these are the royalty cards. In the Thoth deck, it is the knight, the queen, the princess, the prince. Some tarot cards have the king, the queen, princess, and prince. Okay? So you have a knight of swords, you have a knight of cups, you have a knight of wands, you have a knight of pentacles or discs. You have a queen of swords, you have a queen of cups, you have a queen of wands, you have a queen of discs, queen of pentacles. And these things represent 16 types of self-mastery in human life. And these cards you can use in creative visualization to help yourself unlock and develop these types of self-mastery. And they transcend all areas of your life: mental, such as focus and concentration, or even mental health, emotional health, spiritual, and physical, which includes financial. So you can use tarot cards even in your everyday routine of work. All right, so down here, 40 portals of initiation and growth. These are the next 40 cards are symbolic representations of life's opportunities and challenges. So you have a card like futility. I think that's the Seven of Wands, or is that strife? You have cards like oppression, but then you also have cards like happiness. You have cards of fulfillment. And these are all portals of initiation and growth. So some of the tarot cards on the surface may look like negative cards to you. They may look scary, but what these are really representing are energies that you're bringing to the surface to be integrated and processed and healed. That's basically what these tarot cards are about. And why is there 40? Well, again, you have 4 elements, and you have the aces through 10, or 1 through 10. So 10 times 4 is 40. So once again, you have ace through 10 for the swords. You have ace through 10 for the cups. You have ace through 10 for the wands, and ace through 10 for the discs or pentacles. Now, if you go back up to the 4 elements here, swords at the very top, the 4 basic elements plus 1 spirit, you could look at this as solid being earth, wands being plasma, cups being liquid, and swords being mental or gas. Gas, solid, liquid, and plasma. And if you look at the physical scientific world all around you, everything is either one or a combination of those 4 things, right? And then, of course, you have ether, which is spirit. So if you look at scientifically at this correspondence, this is what we're talking about, is correspondence. And now I'm having you connect correspondences to correspondences. This is the basic structure of thought, is correspondences. The basic structure of communication and writing and speaking is correspondences. And it is the basic of magic, of being able to alter your own reality. So here I'm going to have you connect this correspondence to swords, and mental will connect the idea of gas in the physical or in the scientific world. To the idea of cups and emotional will connect the idea of water or liquid. Matter can be in 1 or 4 of these states: gas, liquid, plasma, or solid. Solid is the physical. All right. All right. So keep that in mind. I hope you're kind of understanding this. We're making connections. We're not literally saying that this is the same as water. What we're saying is these are metaphorical connections, symbolic connections. And symbology is the key to changing yourself, because the way this works, this is incorporating not just your imagination, but it incorporates your mental, your intellect, it incorporates your emotional engagement, and it incorporates your physical body on top of that. And of course, you know, with physical body, a lot of times this is where spells and rituals come in, because you have physical movements that correspond with these intentions. But here you go, 40 portals of initiation and growth, symbolic representations of life's opportunities and challenges, ace through 10 in all 4 elements. And then breaking down those 40 portals even further, you have 13 tests and challenges of consciousness, and you have 27 gifts and tools of consciousness. So for every test, for every problem, and these 13 tests and challenges of consciousness are problems and tests that we all have to go through. Like, for example, a fear of ruin. I think that is, let me see what card that is. Sorrow, that's the Three of Swords. We all have times in our life when we have sorrow. You have defeat, Five of Swords. We all experience defeat at some point in our lives. Five of Discs is worry. Five of Cups is disappointment. We all have these, no matter who we are. Five of Wands is strife. And again, I'm using the Thoth deck. So we all experience these things and more: anxiety, worry, strife, fear of failure, fear of defeat, indolence. And for every one of these things, there are two gifts plus an extra one. 2 times 13 is 26, plus 1 is 27. You see that next to the challenges? You have 27 gifts and tools of consciousness. So within the tarot card deck, you have the tests and challenges of consciousness that you're going to face. But for every one, you have 2 gifts and tools to work through it and to process it, plus an extra one. Okay, so I hope this kind of helps. But check out the book called The Tarot Card Handbook by Angeles Arian. She has her interpretations from a cross-cultural perspective and from a psychological perspective. And when you're looking at it like this, you can start to connect a lot of dots all across the board, and you can take the tarot cards from a superstitious level into a practical level that you can actually work with in a reliable system. So let's see what people have to say about this. Whoa, Bex O'Neill. What's up, Bex? How you doing, Bex? Bex O'Neill says, noticed YouTube really been playing up lately. Yep, spot on, Bob. There can be 7 if you work with earth, fire, water, air, spirit, dark, and light. Oh, yeah. Really? Now, isn't light considered fire? And isn't earth considered dark? I mean, because in the Egyptian, the Egyptian, the Kefera, wasn't Kefera the dark, in the darkness? Kefera bug? And then when you do the last rite, hail unto thee who art Kefera in thy hiding, even unto thee who art Kefera in thy silence, who travellest over the heavens at the midnight hour of the sun. But that's interesting, though. Seven elements. Another thing people don't really talk much about when it comes to tarot cards, I mentioned it earlier, was the Kabbalistic tree of life. Let's see. I'm going to show you how they fit into the tarot cards. So once again, the Kabbalistic tree, I love this. The Kabbalistic tree, the pathways of the Kabbalistic tree, as you can see here, let me see. Hopefully I can get a bigger picture of it so we can see it a lot clearer. Oh gosh, it's taking me to Pinterest. I don't want to go to Pinterest. Okay, I guess I will. Oh, yeah, here we go. So this is the Kabbalistic tree of life. And if you boil down all knowledge, all of reality, you can boil it down into one thing, which is right there at the crown, the one. Now, from the one thing, okay, now Christians would say, oh yeah, that's what we would call God. Everything comes from God. All right. Now, from that one thing, there are 10 basic emanations, 10 basic core principles, cosmic principles that transcend every living thing, every non-living thing, the whole cosmos and beyond. And they're so huge. Each of these are so huge, these 10 emanations of the divine, they're so huge that you can spend lifetimes accumulating knowledge about each of them. And as you can see here, there's 10. You have the top here, 1, and from 1 comes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And this is a whole system of filing that you can use to understand and process and file every single experience, every piece of knowledge, almost every piece of life that you've lived or that you ever will live into this system. It's mathematically precise, while at the same time being flexible enough for endless creativity and variation. So remember that. It is super sharp, it is mathematically precise, it is the essence and core of every body of knowledge, whether philosophy, science, or art. And this, I call it this tree of life, you tag as many correspondences as you can. As you see here, you have a crown at the top, 2. The one thing rendered itself, wanted to know itself. So it rendered itself comprehensible to itself. How? Through a mirror. So that's where 2 comes from. You have now this duality. You have light and dark. You have true and false, existence and non-existence. And from there, you have a third point of view, understanding. And as you see now, there's an upper triangle here with the crown at the top. And now you can see a visual shape forming where you have the polar opposites at the bottom, and at the top in the middle, you have the middle way, a higher, broader perspective. So you have a system within a system. And you see these triangles now going down further and becoming inverted. Here you have severity and mercy and beauty, and they are now going down further in an inverted fashion until you get down here to the kingdom, which is physical earth, which is your physical reality. So basically, this is a picture of reality. Down here at the bottom, this is physical earth. This is called Malkut, or kingdom. So this is your everyday waking consciousness, your everyday reality. But behind that everyday reality is a lot of other stuff going on, as you can see. And the tarot cards are the pathways. They correspond to the pathways between these circles called Sephiroth. So as you see here, the magician card connects the crown with wisdom. And then on this side here, the Fool card connects the crown with wisdom, and then the Magician card connects the crown with understanding. So what these cards basically will help you do, remember these are the 22 universal principles, the major arcana. What you can use these cards for is to develop more wisdom, to develop more understanding, and to get in touch with your higher self, or if you call it God or whatever, the higher, more broader perspective a pure, better, improved self. The whole idea is of improving yourself, right? Of becoming more of who you are. And you have 10 different aspects here that get more dense as they come down. So from understanding, now you have mercy and then severity. That's how the energy flows. Uh, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 is mercy, and 5 is severity. Now, as you see, there's some Hebrew writing. Those are their Hebrew names. Chesed is mercy, and then Gibura, over here, the red one, number 5, means severity. And like I said, these are huge principles, so there's a lot of different correspondences tied to them. Another correspondence to give you a better flavor of what this Sephiroth here, severity, uh, the planet Mars corresponds to it. The idea of war, of passion, enthusiasm, endurance, stamina, fire, refinement. As a matter of fact, when the divine energy comes from Keta from the crown to wisdom to understanding, and then down here to mercy, number 4, and then number 5, severity, this red one here is one of purifying. It is a purifying intelligence. So nothing that comes through there will remain with blemish. And if you think about the idea of fire in red, you understand that fire is the ultimate sterilizer of things. In the hospital, they use autoclave to sterilize things, heat. And then from there, it goes into this one here, beauty. This is Tipareth, number 6. And as you can see, this one is joined to all of the other ones. It's right here at the center. And these have specific locations in your body, by the way, similar to how chakras are in the East. Well, here in the West, this is called the Yoga of the West, the Kabbalistic tree. And this one here is in your heart center. Some people could correlate that to Christ consciousness or to the sun. And you have many, many solar deities connected, like Ra, the Egyptian deity. You have many different deities connected to these two. And you will see so many different correspondences between things like Hinduism, Christian, Buddhism, through this Kabbalistic filing system. You'll be able to understand how all of these tie together and what the messages behind the actual religions was. Like, for example, in Egypt, you had 10 basic deities, and these were the main deities. You had, in the Norse mythology, you had 9 basic conceptions. So throughout the whole world, you had either 0 through 9 or 1 through 10. And it's funny when you think about it because you can count them on both hands. So all knowledge, all you ever need to know comes in 10 basic conceptions. And I said earlier that they are mathematically precise. Each of these numbers here, when you look at these numbers, each of these numbers have very, very, very unique characteristics about them, and they have very unique relationships to each other. There are secrets and codes within this whole image. Just this alone here, there's so much information that you can dig and find. For example, one of the meanings of one obviously is unity, the one. But the special thing about the number one is that you can multiply it or divide it into any number and it will not affect that number. 1 times 3 is still 3. 1 times 1,000 is still 1,000. 1 times 100 is still 100. So this was considered a holy, divine, pure number because it didn't change or infiltrate or blemish the numbers that it went into, that you divided it into, or that you multiplied it with. So this is something very interesting. Now, this isn't the only interesting characteristic. There's a lot of information just about the number one. And the strange thing about number one is that it's really not considered just one. It's actually considered 0 and 1. That's why when you see some documents, it has 0, 1 instead of just 1, because the 0 and the 1, if you imagine a point in space, well, let's just go beyond a point in space. If you just imagine space, just no thing that we could ever wrap our minds around, but it's something, okay? And when you try to comprehend that, let's say the next step to comprehending this no thing, this big, huge idea that none of us can wrap our head around, okay, we can say limitlessness. A characteristic of it is limitlessness. And then if we try to wrap our heads around it a little bit more, we could say unlimited light. Okay, limitless light. And from there, now we could say it is something. It is the one thing. So imagine you have a point in space, a dimensionless point in space. And from that point, you draw another point and you connect those 2 points. There's a line. Well, that line, if you turn it right side up, becomes a 1. So the 1 is actually already 2. There's 2 points in the number 1. As you see, literally, you see there's 2 points. There's a bottom and a top. So in actuality, the number 1 oscillates between existence and non-existence, if that makes sense. Yeah, so these numbers have some really, really deep metaphysical meanings to them. They're not just numbers in a math book. So within each number, the seed of the future number is contained. As you see with the number 1 here, it has 2 points. It has one top and one bottom. That number 1 already contains the seed for duality, or 2. And 2 already contains the seed for 3, and so forth. That's another cool thing about these numbers. So these numbers and their characteristics correspond to the meanings of these Sephiroth, or these abstract concepts, these 10 abstract concepts. Now, here's something else. Before there were names for these, we just had these numbers. But as we progressed and as we had civilizations, we personified these numbers and made them into gods and goddesses. And we created myths and folklore to explain the relationships between these numbers with each other. All of these things have special, unique relationship. 2 has a special relationship with 1, and together 1, 2, and 3 have a special relationship. That's actually where the mystery and the history of the Trinity comes from, because every major culture has a special, important Trinity of sorts, and that's by no accident. It has to do with numbers. Remember, I told you this is numerically, mathematically precise. And whether you call it Ra or whether you call it Jesus, these things date back to, they have their trace to certain principles, abstract principles that we all can understand and work with beyond religion or culture, because you're going back to the number. At the core of these deities were numbers before they were deities. Before you had Venus over here, which is number 7, victory, which is Netzach. It's called Netzach. Before you had Venus and Athena, you had the number 7. The number 7 is considered, another correspondence to number 7 is virgin or holiness. And of course, I know you remember in the Bible they had this concept of sevenness, right? 77 times 7. When you look at the days of the week, 7 days a week, there is a completion, a type of process, an event that is completed, but it is a cycle, because the next one is 8, an octave up, and you have 7 musical notes. So you have a cycle of notes, but then it repeats again, but an octave higher, right? So then what does all this mean? How do you put all this together for this particular meaning of victory? How does victory fit in with all of this and with holiness and with the number 7? Well, this is where all of this interesting stuff comes in because you personally get to fill in the blanks with that to make your own meaning. You have the basic core principles, and then you get to fill in the blanks with that. Now, the thing with this is that you can travel in this Kabbalistic tree. You can use the tarot cards to travel into these particular aspects of yourself. These have corresponding body locations. So you can learn different methods into traveling into these aspects, and you can gain new knowledge and new information, practical stuff that you can verify and test and use. And I've been doing this, so this is a really good thing. But more importantly than anything, you're going to be able to address all of the major universal archetypes, psychologic and psychic archetypes that we all as human beings uh, experience. Like, for example, you have the Empress. Like I told you, that's the mother archetype. The Emperor is the father archetype. You can't really see it all that well here, but between wisdom and mercy, you have the Hierophant card, which is a card about teaching and learning. Okay, so you can have the wise teacher. I think that would be the wise teacher archetype. Some cards show a preacher or a religious priest on it, so it could be a counselor. The idea of a counselor, okay. I mean, I don't really trust priests or anything, So, um, my card, the top card, doesn't have the. Well, I think it does have a. It has Osiris on it, but the idea is of a guide, of a counselor, a trusted guide, and you can use that card to explore the different worlds between wisdom and mercy. Okay, and you have the wise old man, the hermit, over here between beauty and mercy. That's the tarot card, the hermit. Let's see. You have the between beauty and victory. You have the death card. Now, you wouldn't think that beauty and victory would have anything to do with death, right? A lot of people are afraid of that card. They're like, oh my God, it means somebody's going to die. It means I'm going to die. I see the death card in my spread. Well, not necessarily. And death, when you look at death, every 7 years, there's that 7 again. Every 7 years, our bodies completely are new, and all of the cells and flesh that we had 7 years ago is gone and dead. So in a sense, every 7 years, we do go through a type of death physically. Literally, we go through a type of death. Our skin is not the same as it was. Those cells died and fell off. Our hair, our bones, it's all dead from what was 7 years. You're not the same person physically anymore, even though you look the same, maybe. All right, so what do you have to say about this? You have any ideas on this? I really love this Kabbalistic tree. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of info on it. I hope I didn't confuse anybody on it. Bex O'Neill. Bex O'Neill says, I'm going by most people using the main 4, but Spirit Dark Light can bring in a whole lot of different interpretations. All interwoven. 10 is completion, as 9 is tying up loose ends. The number 71 has consistently come up in my life. Mott Floyd says, Bob, did you ever read Promethea by Alan Moore? No, I have yet to read that. I love Alan Moore, though. I didn't know you were an Alan Moore fan. I need to get that on my bucket list. Well, we have 4 people watching right now, and we just got done talking a little bit about the tarot cards. But listen, everybody, I think I'm about to call it a day. Unless anybody else has anything. Well, I think we should do a tarot card reading sometime again. Maybe sometime next week or a week after that. I'll have to see. But I think I'm going to call it a day. I got to take care of some things. But I appreciate everybody tuning in. Where's my speaker? I appreciate everybody tuning in. And we'll see you next time.